you doing, guys? It's Jake, the boxing fan here. Hope you're well. Good to see some new subscribers to the channel. The targets are changing all the time, guys, and I'm grateful for the support. Don't forget, keep liking, sharing and subscribing for me. In today's video, I'm going to be looking ahead to the weekend's boxing action where, of course, Callum Smith is aiming to become a two-weight world champion with the small matter of Ohara Beterbiev standing in his way. Just before we get into that, and I'll be giving my preview prediction as to how I thought that fight may pan out, I'm just going to be talking about some of the boxing news that's come out this week following last week's action in Vegas. We've had Tony Weeks. Now, he was the referee, of course, responsible for that first round stoppage in Virgil Ortiz's comeback fight with Frederick Lawson. And he obviously received some criticism off the back of that stoppage for stopping the fight prematurely. Now, of course, he's the man in the ring, the professional. He can see in the boxer's eyes. But it did seem strange, didn't it? Because the way that Lawson was seemingly not in any sort of real danger. Early in the fight, he was Tucker against the ropes, and then Tony Weeks was jumping in between them. And he's since come out and mentioned sort of about a medical issue, potentially an aneurysm that he was aware of going into that fight that may have influenced the decision for the early stoppage. So some strange comments. He did come out and since delete them. Golden Boy have obviously denied it, and some ex-professionals have come out and said that there's no truth in it. But it'd be it does seem strange to make those comments if untrue, and it does raise some questions then about the medical side of it. Should the fight have been on? Should he have been expected to referee it in those circumstances? I'm sure we'll see what the repercussions of that may be in time. Also, Ohara Davies, obviously he fell short with that first round defeat to Ismael Barroso. He's come out and said that one of the factors may have been sort of sleep deprivation as a result of the oxygen that was being pumped into the casinos and into the room. That meant he wasn't able to get the sleep he needed going into that one. So again, some strange comments, I thought. Fortunately for Ohara Davies, though, whether it was sleep deprivation, whether he was just overeager, overreaching and got caught with that left counter, it goes down the same way on the card. So he's going to have to right that wrong if he chooses to do so and prove to us that he can mix it at world level, because he's just fallen short in the past, whether it be Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall or Ismael Barroso. For what he's achieved, Ohara Davies, he's just fallen short at that world level. That's the observation. And so I'm sure though with a couple of two or three comeback fights, he could be able to get himself back in position. And you're only as good as your last fight, as they say. See what happens there. Anyway, guys, that's enough about that. We don't want to be talking about referees or anything like that. Let's get into the boxing action, because this weekend in Canada, obviously Callum Smith has got it all to do against Ohara Beterbiev, a man who holds 3 of the belts at light heavy. Last year, this time of year, I thought Ohara Beterbiev gave us, for me, what was one of the fight contenders of the year, and we'll be tuning into this one to see if we can get the same. And how do you see this one going? Obviously, the bookies are making it Beterbiev a short price favourite, understandably so. We know the magnitude of the task. This is a man, Beterbiev, who has never been stopped in a boxing ring, professional or amateur, and he hasn't lost, of course, since a defeat to Alexander Usyk in the amateurs at the 2012 Olympics. We saw with Anthony Yard that he had some success, didn't he? He showed some real cojones. He was teeing off with Beterbiev right from the first bell, and had some success marking Beterbiev off up in the early rounds for about 8 rounds until, of course, Beterbiev caught up with him. And that, for me, would be my concern going into this one. Can Callum Smith keep Beterbiev off him for 36 minutes? I'm not convinced he can, and that's why I think Callum Smith's best chance to win this fight is going to be by way of stoppage. Not including the fact that he's obviously going away. He's the away fighter against the champion, and of course he's not been active. Callum Smith, he was meant to get out last March up in Liverpool on that DAZN card, the Cullen Pacheco card, but that fight didn't go ahead. So he's not actually been out in action, of course, since he fought Border League on the AJ Usyk rematch in Saudi way back in August 2022, and that does concern me. I mean, look, I know a layoff isn't always a bad thing if he's coming back from injury, or he can give himself some extra time for preparation with a new trainer. So there's different ways to look at it. But with a man like Beterbiev, who we know has the stamina, doesn't gas, will keep coming forward right till the end, I'd be a bit concerned for Callum Smith in that last third of the fight, given that he's not gone 12 rounds since he fought Canelo at super middle way back in at the end of 2020. So I mean, so I look at it and in that case, and we think, what can Callum Smith, how will Callum Smith approach it? Look, the Smith family know they're boxing inside out. They'll know that they've got to use Callum Smith's attributes to their advantage. Can't afford to be reckless. He's got the 5-inch range advantage on the jab, so he'll be measured, boxing behind the jab, no doubt. Trying to stop Beterbiev get where he wants to be. He wants to be in close, he wants to be in the pocket, and I don't think Callum Smith can afford to be mixing it in the pocket for too long. So using his jab, using his feints, be busy with his jab to try and keep Beterbiev off him, and also applying effective pressure as well, and using his combinations when he gets the opportunity, because we have seen Beterbiev, he can be hit. I don't think he's got the evasive movement of a Canelo, who made Smith miss in that fight. I think he will have more success, and we've seen from that Yard fight how he had the success with that lead left hook. Beterbiev has that trigger movement to his right, so Yard had a lot of success with the lead left hook. It was the same shot that Callum Johnson dropped Beterbiev with. And it's a shot that Callum Smith throws very well, and that's why I think it's quite exciting, because we've seen Callum Smith in his fight with George Groves. The lead left hook was the shot that stopped George Groves in his tracks before Callum Smith was able to push him back against the ropes and stop him. He also had used the shot in the fight with Nassim Dam, and of course in his last fight against Beterbiev, it was a left-right hook combination that did the damage there. So he'll know he can. He's got the power to hurt Beterbiev, and of course, since he's moved to 175, he has looked like a man who really does carry that power. It's amazing to think with that stature that he ever made 168. And whilst he's only had the 6 rounds at 175, there've been 6 very good rounds. I mean, we saw that shot that he stopped Rivera with. Of course, in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the AJ Usyk 1 undercard, that was a brute of a shot. There was a lot of concern for Rivera that night. I was at that fight, and the way he went down on that one was brute of a shot. And then, of course, against Beterbiev, he went 4 rounds in a trade-off with Beterbiev, and he came out on top in that one. So he'll believe he can hurt Beterbiev. But obviously he's a different proposition to those guys. No disrespect to those guys, but this is a man, as we say, with 100% knockout ratio himself. So he will not want that to be changing anytime soon. And I do feel like he's got to be careful not to sit in the pocket too long with Beterbiev. I think he needs to try and meet him on the way in, stay at mid-range if he can. That's where I think his best success will be, Callum Smith. And as I say, I'll give him probably a 6 to 8 round window. I think as the last third, as the fight goes on, it becomes more difficult for him. We saw, of course, when Beterbiev fight the Ukrainian Godzik, and Godzik had some success for 8 rounds. And then in that last stage of the fight, where he was trying to tie up for Beterbiev was just pushing him off. And then just teeing off on him. He was determined to get him out of there. I think it'd be crazy to write off a man like Callum Smith, who's achieved what he has in the sport. Only 1 defeat on his record, or 1.5 if you include a fight that I know a lot of people had him losing, including myself. But still, he's got the skills to cause better problems. And I'll be interested to see how he looks in the scales, and see what the body language is going into this one. But of course, you have to make Beterbiev favourite, just because of that knockout ratio, and the fact that he's never been stopped. And I would make Beterbiev 70-30 favourite, 60-40, 70-30. But I think someone's getting stopped here. I don't think we're going to hear the final bell, and that's what always makes it so interesting. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Who do you have in this one? Do you think that the bookies have got it right? Do you make Beterbiev an easy night's work here, or do you think there could be a potential upset incoming? 4 AM, the Rain Room will expect to be Sky Arena for us in the UK. I think ESPN over in America. A couple of fights of note on the undercard. There's a title fight at bantamweight. The Australian Justin Maloney, he's putting his title on the line against Saul Sanchez, 20-2. Maloney obviously picking up the vacant title in May last year. He's only got 2 defeats on his record, one to Inoue, and another one to the IBF champion Rodriguez. I expect him to come through that one. And super middle, the Frenchman Christian Mbele, he is in action against Rohan Murdoch. So those are the 2 that I've picked out of interest. So that's it from me, guys, on this one. Thank you for tuning in as always, guys. I'll see you on the next one.